Once Told Tales, as read by the author Rick Tobin. The Frog Princess by Rick Tobin. Many years ago, there was a kingdom called Kura. Kura was a land of vast forests, wind-swept, craggy mountains, and low, murky swamplands. A very old king ruled this wild land. The king was very ill. He knew he might soon die. The problem was choosing a new king to replace him. The king had two sons, Nigel and Eric. Nigel was strong, tall, and dark of hair and skin. Nigel had black, brooding eyes. Eric, his younger brother, was pale with fiery red hair. Eric's green eyes stood out like green leaves on the snow. Nigel was like a hungry wolf, but Eric was like a lamb. The king worried because Nigel might bring war to Kura. The king also worried because Eric might not be able to defend Kura against its enemies. The king had an idea. He called Nigel and Eric to his bedside, where he was ill. "My sons," whispered the king in his sickly voice, "go to the forest near the swampland and hunt the deer. Whichever one of you brings back the first deer shall have my crown. Now go." Nigel and Eric bowed and left the room quickly. "Come, my brother," laughed Nigel. "Come and watch me kill a deer, for surely you can't do that yourself." Eric blushed. Nigel knew a secret that the king did not. Eric could not kill anything, even though the king had sent him on hunting parties in the past. Eric had always asked someone else, usually Nigel, to bring back a trophy. Eric could not stand to see an animal harmed. "I will go with you because father commanded it," Eric replied, "but I will not watch. I will go and pray that you miss every deer in the woods." "Oh, will you?" questioned Nigel. "You would like that, wouldn't you? That way we would have to share the throne. Ha ha! Pray all you like. By nightfall tomorrow I shall be king, and you, well, I'm sure I can find something nice for you to do in the mountains for the rest of your life." Eric shuddered, for he knew what Nigel meant. There was an area in the mountains of Kura where no living thing existed. There was little water, no trees, no green meadows, no animals, none of the things that Eric loved. And so they set off. As they rode their horses through the forest, searching for deer, Eric would hum and look at the butterflies. He would say, "Love 'em." He would wonder at the birds as they flitted in and out of the tight web of overhanging branches. Eric would sigh and say, "Love 'em." In fact, whether it was a flower in bloom, a sparkling bit of spider web, or even a tall cloud, Eric would laugh and yell out, "Love 'em." This distracted Nigel. He finally screamed at Eric, "I am sick of your silliness. You're scaring the deer. Let us see how much you love this." With that, Nigel slapped the back of Eric's horse so hard that the horse charged out of control. Eric lost control of the reins and began crashing through the forest in the direction of the swamp. Nigel laughed and laughed, then suddenly stopped. The swamp, he thought. If Eric should get lost there and not come back with me, the king will think I killed him. I'll be banished. I'll lose the crown. "Gee-up," snapped Nigel as he slapped his horse to a gallop. By now, Eric was just passing out of the forest into a dark, hot swamp. There was no stopping the frightened horse. Eric was frightened as well. He had never been in the swamps before. Everyone in Kura was afraid of them, even Nigel. Hunters who went into the swamps never came back. But there was no stopping now. Eric's horse bucked suddenly, throwing Eric through the air into a tuft of grass and mud that rose above the swamp water. Eric groaned as he tried to get up. His head hurt a bit, but there was no blood, and he didn't seem to have any broken bones. Everything just seemed a little fuzzy. Then he could hear the thunder of Nigel's horse. Then he could hear Nigel laughing. "Dear brother, that is perfect place for you. An island kingdom for Eric." Nigel laughed as he pointed at Eric on the tuft of soil. But he suddenly stopped as a mist began to rise out of the swamp in front of them both. Nigel drew his sword and his waist knife. Eric looked into the mist and smiled. It was very interesting. He could see it begin to solidify until he could actually see something solid. A warbling voice came from the changing mists. "Who are you?" "Identify yourself," commanded Nigel. "Who are you to command me?" snapped the green form. It began to take the shape of a woman, but a strange woman. Nigel and Eric were hypnotized as they watched the woman with green skin appear before them. "I am Nigel, the king's son. This is my brother Eric, for what it's worth, and you must obey us." "I am Aurora, princess of the land of Rana. I do not need to obey anyone, especially you two-leggeds." "Two-leggeds? What are you talking about?" questioned Nigel. Eric mumbled, "Love 'em." Nigel could see the beautiful young woman forming, but she had a gold object above her head. It seemed to be a ring. "You," continued Aurora, "are the two-leggeds who sometimes come into our kingdom. Once every 1,000 years, a princess of Rana can choose one of you to become the new king, rather one of our own." "What are you?" asked Nigel again. "I believe your people call us frogs. Do you understand?" she warbled. Nigel gave a hearty laugh. "I know the story. I kiss you and you become a beautiful princess." "No," replied Aurora. "I am already a beautiful princess. What I need is you to become my husband." "Whoa," Nigel said. "Why don't you just give me a little kiss and then tell me more silly stories? I like the ring, too. I think I'll take it." Nigel moved toward the frog princess. She lashed out with a wad of spit and hit his eyes. Nigel could not see any more. She blinded him. "Eric, help me," he cried out. "Please don't hurt him," Eric pleaded. "You are not the man I wanted," said Aurora. "But you do have interesting red skin on your head. Your eyes look like my sister's. Would you be my prince?" "No, don't do it," screamed Nigel. Eric looked back at his brother struggling in the green, scummy water. He was confused. "What would I have to do?" asked Eric. "Just put your finger through the golden hoop. Then you can be my prince." Nigel told Eric not to do it, that he would be all right, just stay put. He tried to tell Eric how ugly Aurora was, especially since she was a stinking green-skinned monster. "What do you think of frogs, Eric?" she asked. "Love 'em," said Eric. "What do I need to do?" "Just put your fingers through the ring, and you will change and be with me. We will rule together." "No," Nigel begged. "You'll die. Stay with me and you can be with beautiful women. Don't listen to her evil." "But she's pretty," said Eric, "and she seems kind." Before Nigel could stop him, Eric reached over and put his finger in the ring. He felt the air spin. His skin felt cold and wet. Eric's eyes bulged and grew as he shrank along with Aurora. By the time Nigel's eyes cleared, the two of them were gone. Nigel searched the swamps for hours looking for his brother. There was no sign of anyone. Nigel went back alone to the king. He was banished to the mountains where nothing lived, for everyone believed he had killed Eric. And what became of Eric? Eric found himself underwater in a beautiful golden world. There he met the beings of Rana. Soon he and Aurora were married. He and Aurora ruled the land of Rana for 300 years in peace and joy. And to this day, you can hear Eric and Aurora's children at night as they look at the stars in the sky and wonder as they say, "Love 'em, love 'em."